All right, folks, special guest on the channel today. We have the Subaru Solterra. This is the touring model. It starts at $51,000. Fully electric, as you can see right here. It says EV on it, just to let you know. Guys are just ripping through the desert over there. So it has all-wheel drive. It is a Subaru. It has dynamic cruise control with lane keep assist. And it has dual electric motors making 215 horsepower and 249 pound-feet of torque. It's fairly quick. I'd say the 0 to 60 is right around the 6-second mark. And it's also very comfortable. The suspension is well done. The seats are comfortable. There's space in the back. And I'm going to show you all of that along with driving it today. Now, because it's an electric vehicle, the one thing you're going to be wondering about is the battery. It's a 72.8 kilowatt hour battery. Again, dual electric motors. And that gives it 222 miles of range. It also has a split roof spoiler plus a ducktail spoiler on the bottom and a 12.3-inch multimedia system. I will say the sound system was not great in this thing. I was kind of surprised. Didn't have a lot of depth to the sound. So that was one thing that I was able to tell in comparison to other vehicles in the price range. It also has voice activated assistant. So if you say, hey Subaru, why haven't you turbocharged the BRZ yet? It will give you answers to that. Hey Subaru, why did you end the STI? It might give you answers to things like that. It has remote climate control available. It has a 360 cam with park assist. It has heated and cooled front seats, and the rear seats are also heated along with the steering wheel. This specific model is $54,558. So you can fully load a Tesla Model Y. Model Y performance costs the same amount as this, but there are some crazy incentives going on right now with the Solterra. You can do 0% down for 72 months, or you can do $329 a month lease with 0 down. And I actually saw a lease deal on this the other day, 0 down, $220 a month. So the deals are out there on this thing, and I'm gonna do a comprehensive review today, showing you all the features of the car and the space and everything like that. This will help make your decision on if you wanna buy one or not, and that's that. Now the tires on this thing are the Bridgestone Turanzas. This is an EV specific tire. Now generally in Subarus, you're gonna see some 2.4 liter boxer engine up here. This is just part of the electric drivetrain. So you can see the high voltage cables here and everything else. Really, in my opinion, if you're building electric vehicles, this is poor engineering to have all of these components up here. Should all be tucked away like Tesla does, like Lucid does, like Porsche has been able to do. That is part of the greatness of EVs, is all of the extra storage you have because there's no motor up front. You could tell someone this is an engine, they'd go, oh yeah, I don't like this part of the Solterra not being able to use this space for storage. You also have this door here that says EV, and here are the charge ports for DC fast charging. Now, the interesting thing about the charging speed of the Solterra is it's only 100 kilowatts. And I thought to myself, okay, that's not good. And so you can get 10 to 80% in 35 minutes. So I looked at what my times were from testing in the Tesla Model Y. 10 to 80% happens in 35 minutes. So it happens in the same amount of time. The Model Y long range has a slightly larger battery at 81 kilowatt hours, but it's also more aerodynamically efficient car, so it gets a little bit more range. Looking at it on paper with the Model Y having 250 kilowatt max charging speed, this actually charges in the same amount of time with a similar battery, so it has a much flatter charging curve, whereas the Model Y is gonna taper off over time. So I thought that was interesting. You know, on paper, those higher speeds maybe in the real world doesn't mean as much. Now, before we get to the interior, we need to talk about today's video sponsor, Soylent. Soylent is a complete nutrition brand with a science-based take on health and wellness. We all know what nutrients we need, but healthy, balanced meals are often too expensive or take too much time and effort to make. As a father of 2, I have no time. Yeah, so 20 grams of plant protein and 400 calories. Now, a lot of you may say, oh, 400 calories, that's a lot. This is a meal replacement. In other words, it replaces a meal. So yeah, that tastes really good. My favorite is the strawberry. I really enjoy that one. So grabbing a Soylent while editing for lunch or before a Tesla road trip feels a lot better than eating gas station food, which leads to blowouts. My favorite one from the variety pack is strawberry. Soylent has removed the barriers to healthy eating by making foods, drinks, and powders that provide balanced nutrition in a convenient and affordable format. Simply put, Soylent has created the world's most perfect food. Their mission is to make complete, sustainable nutrition accessible, appealing, and affordable to all. And by using code Gjeebs25, you can save 25% off your subscription to Soylent. You can even pick up this exact pack right here, the Soylent Variety Pack. That way you can try all the various ones and kind of see which one you like best and then maybe order more of those. So again, code Gjeebs25, Soylent, thank you for sponsoring the video. I appreciate it. Now back to it. So onto the interior of the car, you have some nice leather here. This is nice and soft, kind of where your elbow rests. I don't like the piano black, but maybe some of you do. I'll leave that up to you guys. Controls here for your mirrors, lock, unlock, child lock for the back, fully automatic for the driver's side door and the passenger door, okay? And the other rear. And the windows go all the way down. Look at that. So we open that thing up all the way. You can see we have a panoramic roof system here that is opened with an automatic switch from the front, and then into the back of the car we have my comfortable seating position up front. Let's see what we got here. All right, so interesting seating position because you can see here my legs are sitting up at a decent angle. You have a ton of space and you're just lounging. I wish my legs had more support here, and there's kind of not a way to do that. So that's interesting. So you have a lot of space, but the angle you're sitting at is not great. I think that could be uncomfortable on longer road trips. The other thing we have here, 2 USB-C ports for charging, your heated seats for both sides. So that's nice. This looks a little antiquated. And then you have your vents down here. This literally looks like it's out of a 1997 Sebring. And then the seats here, we have these dual tone perforated leather seats, very comfortable. I like this blue color that they've gone with here, so that looks cool. And then they also recline. As you can see, they're reclined all the way back right now. So it's a nice seat. It's a spacious back. It's just the seating position is not great. And you can see up here that we do have wireless Apple CarPlay installed. So we'll go look at the infotainment up front right now. The steering wheel has a great shape to it. It's very easy to handle, so I really enjoy that. Also, you have this mesh material up front here that you can see. It's kind of an interesting material that I've not seen on the interior of any other car, so that's cool. This 12.3-inch high-definition display is amazing. They've done a great job with that. And now down here, we have a bunch of different switches. Now, these don't have any feedback, like haptic feedback into your hand, so there's just an audio click here. So that's your heated seat, and that's your cooled seat, and you can just leave it on auto and let the car decide. The Eco AC and all that stuff. So this stuff is fine. You can also see volume up and down. Volume can also be controlled with this switch right here, and this skips over to the next song. So you have a bunch of different options here. Now, this is a touch screen, but look at the lag. There's a ton of lag, so that's just not the greatest thing. I mean, that's really bad. So the display is beautiful itself, but the lag is really bad, as you can see right there. So I'm not sure why that is. All right, so that was not representative of how this actually works. So the reason the lag is happening is because I'm using the camera on my phone, and then my phone is running Apple CarPlay. So when I turn off the camera on my phone, this works very quickly and perfectly as it should. So that's why you're seeing a little bit of a lag there. Now down onto the more of the center console here, you can see to put the car in park, you do this. You just press that. Now if you want to put it in gear, foot on the brake, you press this down and then turn it. So that's something that's interesting and takes a little bit of getting used to. Your power button to turn on the car is right here. This is your e-brake. This is for hold, so once you get to a stop and you press the brake all the way in, the car will hold itself and you don't have to put your foot on the brake. This adjusts the regenerative braking, and then this adjusts your drive mode. Now, the interesting thing about this is there's only like 2 settings here, so it just goes from power to eco to normal. Power, eco, normal. That's it. It's just, this seems very antiquated, this whole screen as well. It's almost like a Prius. If they would redesign this, make this more futuristic, and then add storage up front, I think that would be great. The other thing is the 360 view here. So you can check your surroundings for safety, okay? So then if you go here, it just does like a full check around the entire car, which can actually be really useful when you're pulling out of your garage. Make sure the dogs and the kids aren't anywhere near the car. And then you're able to pause that somewhere in the display. So I actually think the camera system, the 360 camera and parking system in this is really good. And then you can adjust all of the different settings here for what it shows you. So I actually think they did a really nice job with the camera system. Then this is X mode, so this is for low traction modes, and you can set where you want the power to go, traction control. Yeah, so it has some sort of self-parking feature. There are no parking spots where I'm currently at. I'm just letting the car drive itself into the desert. All right, we're gonna stop that because there's no parking spaces here. So anyways, it does have a self-park feature, and that's cool. So now that we've kind of covered the main things that need to be covered in the interior, well, I guess I should also show you this here, wireless charging. Wireless charging to me is useless in cars. I've never had one where it actually works correctly. An old USB-A port here, and then that all closes up. Center console, there you go, it exists. So now let's take this thing on a drive. Quick things to note here before we take off that I've noticed. One, the motors on the windows, they're not messing around here at Subaru, very quick. And also, the motor on this roof thing, listen how quick that is. Sounds like a two-stroke. It's also interesting that it's divided here. There's this crossbar in the middle, and I don't know, probably for rigidity, I would think, that's on here. So it's actually a connected panoramic roof, but it's split up by this part of the roof. And it's very quick, sounds like a two-stroke dirt bike. So let's take it for a drive here. Let's put it into drive mode. We're going into power mode. I like power mode. So acceleration, I mean, it's quick. Now, it's not shockingly quick, but for an electric vehicle, it's perfect, really well done. Immediately you notice the suspension. Tesla can't figure out a suspension unless you're in an air suspension. I will say their new Model 3 is excellent. They've done it there, but the Model Y is still harsh. And this being in comparison to it, they've done a really nice job with the suspension in the Solterra. I love the way my hands sit on the steering wheel. And a lot of you may be caught up on the fact that this specific model's 54 grand. They start at $44,000. That's not cheap, especially when there are other cars out there. Like, you can't ignore Tesla in the Model Y, but it's just not for everyone. This has buttons. We talked about the charging speed. If you're not taking road trips and you want something for around town, you don't want a Tesla or like a software-based car like Rivian or Tesla, I can see where this comes in. And then the lease deals on it. You're like, well, it's new, it has a battery, I don't want to buy into that. Okay, well, the lease deals are very aggressive right now to help them move units. So I think that's good. Now, the other thing is all these manufacturers are starting to pull back. GM or Cadillac just pulled back on their EV program, so they're going to be making gas cars well past 2030. I just hope that Subaru kind of sticks to continually making an electric vehicle and perfecting it and making it better over time. So if we do get to a point where everything is going to be electric, they've got something they can really give us. They have an STI variant or whatever, something that's truly fun to drive. But this is solid. A little bit of wind noise in here right now that I'm hearing, but again, I'm on a rough patch of highway and it's just eating up the bumps. It's very comfortable to be in. The seats are very comfortable. It's nice that they're cooled. The display is very easy to see. The display in front of me is awkward. You're kind of fighting between the top of the steering wheel and seeing what's in front of you there. I think that could easily be updated. Visibility out of the car. Visibility in Subarus is excellent. My friend has a Subaru Outback and we drove it like 18 hours on a golf trip, and it was excellent. You could store a bunch of stuff in it. You could see out of it easily. Just beyond the A-pillar here, there's a little triangle that eliminates a blind spot. So these things are highly functional and it rides nicely. My worry would be using the third-party charging networks as you're on a road trip. That could become a problem, and the car doesn't have a ton of range. It's probably not that efficient. So that could become a problem. But for an around-town car, this would be very low maintenance for you. You don't have to do your oil changes or any fluid flushes or anything like that. You just plug it in and you drive it, and that's it. And this could be a very cheap car for you to own. You know, if you do a 2-year lease at $250 per month with zero money down, that's $6,000. So $6,000 spent on a vehicle in 2 years. You don't have any fuel costs. You have just some charging costs at home, which generally isn't much. You can see how little you could own this vehicle for. And then if you are in a job, if they pay you a stipend to get a vehicle and they pay you per mile, you won't have to pay for gas. You can see why it makes sense. So actually going 75 miles per hour highway speeds right now, it's a little loud in here. There's a little bit of wind noise, which I'm surprised by. I didn't expect that because the car is so comfortable and fairly quiet at lower speed, so it's actually good we're cruising along here. What I like about the car, I like that it has Apple CarPlay. The display is very nice. I think it's interesting the exterior has those unpainted parts on it. I don't know if that's what makes driving a Subaru. It's just part of it's unpainted. I don't know. But it does actually look decent. I think if they painted it, it wouldn't look as good. It looks a little more rugged this way. I'm sure that's what they were going for. So I guess they did their job there. I really like the steering wheel. I like the comfort of the seats. So all of that is very good. What I don't like is the packaging. Inefficient use of space in the front area, so hopefully in the future they can develop that. The rear seems a little antiquated, and the front here has this like Prius feel to it, and I wish that that was just a little more futuristic looking. It doesn't need a heads-up display or anything like that. It just needs something that's more meaningful. It almost is like eliminate all of the noise and just have your speed and maybe some navigation options. There's just not much to it, and I really wish that that was better. Hey Subaru, where's the nearest charging station?
Sorry, you have to be subscribed to Connected Services to use navigation feature. To learn more about what you can ask me, please say help.
Help! Okay, so you need to pay for a subscription of some sort to be able to speak to your Subaru. It's kind of like having a wife, you know? Well, let's not get into it. So that's how that works. But we're gonna take this exit here and then turn her around. Overall, it's a solid package. I think you'd ask yourself, why am I buying this over a gas-powered Subaru? Is maybe the true question it comes down to. Like, I would have a hard time telling someone, hey, you should buy this over an Outback or something like that that costs probably in the 20s and 30s, and you don't have to worry about charging or any of that stuff. So yeah, I think that's kind of the conclusion that I'm at. Not awful for a first try at an electric vehicle. It's not terrible, and I think for the incentives and stuff, I could tell you to go for it. But as far as being a $55,000 car, that's a lot. To summarize my thoughts on the Solterra, and I'm not trying to be harsh towards Subaru or anything like that. I love I love STIs, I love the BRZ. This just misses a lot of the things that make owning an electric vehicle great. Having extra storage areas, having futuristic technology. Now, while they did do a nice job with things like the steering wheel and the visibility in the vehicle, the software is antiquated. Like being able to see charging speeds and all the different, where is the next charger? It's just not well integrated. And I think part of the problem is the government, forcing these manufacturers, say, we're going electric by 2030, and now that's not happening. That's all being rolled back. And this is more of like a compliance car. Like Subaru's like, hey, we had to do this, okay? We have other great vehicles, but they are fueled by gas. And eventually they will get there, but they need time in forcing these brands into doing this. So my thing is, I hope Subaru continues to develop this vehicle and just make it better and better year after year, just like the 911, just like they've done with the BRZ. I just hope they continue to perfect it and don't go through any drastic restructuring or anything like that. So yeah, I just think it's missing some of the things that make electric vehicles great. Now, one of my favorite Subarus is the WRX STI, and if you want to check that out, click this video right here. I reviewed it years ago. I love it, and Subaru, I hope you bring back the STI.